Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Now in the last one we took a look at a cheap PC that I bought for just £35. Powered by a quad-core AMD Athlon 5150 and integrated graphics, it offered a pretty bad computing experience, especially when it came to CPU intensive tasks and gaming. It's not really a gaming processor, so that's fair enough, but other out-of-the-box limitations such as lack of dual-channel memory support and a PCIe X4 slot means that there's only so much we can do in an attempt to bring out the best in this thing. There is overclocking potential, but I couldn't get the frequency to budge with the 5150. Any change to this meant that the system didn't boot. That's a bit of a shame, but it won't stop me from trying to get some more demanding games running. To do that, I've added an RTX 3070 into the equation. It's going to be running at PCIe X4 2.0 mode, sure, but this should still help out. I've also nuked pretty much every background task and service from within Windows 10 as well, including the sound drivers, so hopefully that'll buy us a few more frames here and there. Let's get into it then and kick things off with Cyberpunk 2077. I decided to go with 1440p resolution throughout, as I thought giving the GPU more to do might help out here, but there was like no change in performance between 1080 and 1440 in any result during my initial testing. Maybe 1 or 2 frames here and there, but nothing that made gaming feel significantly better or worse. The CPU temperature readings are also incorrect. That is, however, the least of our worries. If you see me look up or down at random times in the game tests, it's because I was trying to hit 30 FPS by any means possible, and while this was certainly possible across all of today's games, running around looking up or down doesn't exactly scream playable gaming experience, as I'm sure you can imagine. But again, this is to be expected. It's by no means a gaming CPU, though you could probably get away with some very light gaming, especially when just using the integrated graphics. Cyberpunk here, not the best of starts, but I'm surprised, to be honest, we got this result. Fortnite was an absolute disaster. But again, I sort of expected this result. There were some instances whereby we hit 30 frames per second, though most of the time we've got a lot less than this. When you're not doing much, as you can see here, the frame rate is at its best, though when you start to move towards sort of bodies of water or towns or trees or look at anything that's not the sky, you will start to see a few performance issues. Let's move on a little bit and see if we can find an enemy and look at how well that will go when running at such a inconsistent frame rate. Okay, so I found this bloke here. I'm trying to shoot him, but it's not going very well. The game's just stuttering at all the wrong times, to be honest. Now, normally, I don't like to blow my own trumpet, but to be honest, I'd wipe the floor with this guy, no problems. Here, however, yeah, it's not going so well for me, and I'm probably about to get wiped out any moment, especially, well, running out of ammo is not going to help. Forza Horizon 5, again, I'm running out of words to use. I keep saying disaster or terrible, but there really is no other word for it. Forza Horizon 5, if the textures aren't missing, then the game just completely stops. It's one or the other, sometimes both, a lot of the time both, as you can see here. The game will just freeze and half of the Mexican countryside decides to just disappear. Now, this isn't really playable at any in-game setting. I chose settings today that the 3070 is capable of handling when paired with a more capable processor, if you get what I mean. So usually the 3070 would have no trouble with the high preset of 1440p, and I think it gives us a better indication of just how much the Athlon makes the performance suffer. As you can see, when more cars get on screen as well, other competitors, the frame rate drops even more. Here we go again. GTA San Andreas. We're averaging somewhere around 15, 16, 17. The exact figures will be on screen for you. That temperature reading is significantly wrong, but the temperature reading of the graphics card is correct. It's not really getting that warm because it's not being utilised much, about 20-25% in this case, going up to around 40 or 50 at the worst of times. So yeah, the Athlon, not good for the definitive edition of San Andreas, but I'm sure it can handle the original edition with no discrete graphics card just fine. Here we are in The Witcher 3 then. Now this was probably one of the better results, at least outside of busier towns and cities. We're getting about 20 FPS here, but I mean it doesn't last very long at all. We soon drop to almost nothing. This isn't just in this area either, it's pretty much all over the map. The CPU just can't handle this game, no matter the setting. I'm using the high graphical preset with low post-processing. I always tend to turn the post-processing options down when I'm using weaker CPUs, as it helps alleviate some of the judders, things like that, but at least in my experience here, it's not really helping at all, which was to be expected. Yeah, The Witcher 3, not very playable on the Athlon 5150, a CPU better suited to older titles, and one that's not ideal in pairing with an RTX 3070, but it certainly is fun to check out these old CPUs in combination with a modern powerful graphics card, just to get an idea of how bad they can be in certain gaming scenarios. But this was just for a bit of fun after all. I expected this result today, and I'm sure you guys did too. That's all there really is to this one. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like down below. Leave a dislike if you didn't. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And hopefully I'll see all of you in the next one.